Hi, Fumban. Welcome to our living room. How are you?
Thank you. I'm okay. How about you?
Great, great. Again, welcome to our living room. Usually I start these interviews by reading a short introduction on the artist. So let me just take a couple of minutes to read this short bio. Fumban Innot Phiri is a two-time award-winning Best Playwright, Best Director for Theater for Young Audiences. He is a theater practitioner, journalist, and educator who has produced drama and workshops for broadcast, stage, film, and schools. On stage, Innot worked as an actor, a playwright, and a producer, and a director. He has performed in about 10 major plays and has written around 20 productions up to date, maybe 21 with the one you're writing for us. He has also experience in radio plays. He's currently writing 2 radio series for young audiences with much interest in getting involved in positive move organizing and implementing and working for the environment. Welcome, Innot Fumban.
Thank you very much.
Honored to talk to you. How are things in Malawi right now in terms of COVID-19?
Things are a bit complicated, very complicated. You know, sometimes it thinks like someone is just writing the whole things up. Okay, like the situation should be like this. So you talk of things in politics, you talk of daily basis issues in Malawi, something like you cannot believe it how things are going from here to other countries. For example, me as an artist and my fellow artist, we have been banned to do public performances. Yet we're seeing huge politicians having some political rallies with thousands of people. While we just need maybe hundreds of people to watch our production, but them then they need thousands of them to put their manifestos. And it's more tricky thing to do those things until now. On 23 June, we're going to hold general election for the presidential elections, and there is huge campaign going around. And some of the artists that have started to do some performances. They are breaking the restriction rules and stuff. They say, okay, if you're doing political rallies, we're going to do our performances. But as to me and my theater group, we are still indoors, working some things out, planning for the post-crisis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in Malawi, were you born in Blantyre or in Lilongwe, or where were you born in Malawi?
Basically, I was born in Zomba, the old capital city. I was born in Zomba. So I moved to Lilongwe with my parents when I was at high school. Then I moved to Blantyre for me to do my university school at Polytechnic. Yeah, so now I'm basically in Blantyre because this is the place where I'm doing all my works. Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about, I've been reading a lot about obviously your work and also about Malawi, right? It's a warm, colorful country. Dance seem to be like embedded in the communication, like celebrations, welcomings. You can see the art of dance being part of it in a very lovely way. And there's a deep sense of community is what I got from my research of Malawi, and also from seeing your work. There's a deep awareness of the importance of community lifting up and making things better for those who come behind. But also there's issues in the society of Malawi that you address beautifully in your work. There's a food crisis, there's child labor, there's poverty, and there's all kinds of issues there. So I want to ask you about your education, because they say it takes a village to raise a child, and your village really raised you well. I know that for the first 8 years of a Malawian life, education it's a duty. You need to go to school, right? But after that, secondary school, only 8% of the students make it to secondary school. And then only 1% of the population makes it to university. That's 1% of 18 million people, right? So tell me about how your journey through education. Who was helping you? Who was pushing you hard?
I just love that one because it's a story where no one cannot believe it, and it's a story whereby it has pushed me to become a good writer in a story. I cannot deny that. Despite that, I've grown up in a family whereby my father is a pastor. Um, we are seven in our family. I'm the sixth one. So my father paid everything for me from primary school to secondary school. So when I was in secondary school, my elder sister used to support me economically and to bail up my father out of it. And up until I reached the college, my elder brother also joined me in the lane of supporting my tertiary education. So it's a bit tricky to understand how we support each other in our family. And like up to now, my kid brother is being supported by other elder people in our family. It's
Yeah.
like the support which is in our family is not only happening in our family, in other families as well, because we are kind of living on extended family, which we endure the tradition of helping each other during the lane of familyship. And the other thing is, I grew up in Zomba, the old capital city, but not part in the city, to some community whereby I live with some many tribes, right? 8 tribes, some center. And I was able to know different cultures and different traditions and different grown-up elements and sediments. And from there, I was selected to a secondary school, a boarding secondary school, whereby it was dominated by one tribe called the Lomwe side. But I was the only one from the northern side who speak the other language from the guys. But I managed to be part of the team. And I remember when I was in Form 3, I was selected to be a drama chairman in our school club. And I became writing at secondary school, and I wrote productions. I remember that time the president was Dr. Bingo Mharuka, and he started the movement of element of tribalism with people from the northern tribes. So I'm from the north. I wrote a script. I presented to the school. The production was talk about the political tribalism in the society. So I was okay. If I submit the script to the guys who is involved, like the Lomwe side, who are the majorities in that section, I was
Yeah.
okay. Will they put it off? I said, in a surprisingly, they accepted the script, and we performed it during national drama competition. So that was the click of writing I started. Okay, this
Is
there
there
is art.
anybody in your family that's inclined to art? Like, what did your father or mother do for a living? How did they support you economically, first of all? But also, when you were growing up, were you exposed to theater? Or I remember when I was 5 years old and I was in the kindergarten and I saw somebody portraying a film on the wall, and I was shocked. Like, how does this work? And I think that blew my mind. What was it in you that was there anything in your childhood that made you interested in theater, in drama?
Yeah, the issue which put me to be in the field of art was film. Uh, the place we are living, we have no space to watch films, and my father had a chance to bought one videos and open a video center in our community. So it belongs to my family. So I was able to watch more productions, more film before the community watched it. So it was interesting to see how other countries are doing things and to learn how people act. And I remember when I was in primary school, standard 8, I went to watch a drama performance at a certain secondary school. I just sneak in to watch a performance. I was like, wow. So Malawians can do this as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Then when I got a chance to go to secondary school, I was like, let me try this. Of course, there were some hiccups after I graduated from high school. My parents say, you cannot do drama. Do something else which can sustain your
You need
life.
to be a doctor. You need to be a lawyer. You need to.
Yeah. So and basically they pushed me to do accounting. Initially,
Mm,
I studied accounting.
yeah.
I did a certificate in accounting, but I told my brother, okay, I want to drop accounting. Can you help me out? He said, in what way? I want to study journalism because I cannot get a chance to do drama at the University of Malawi Chancellor College. Can I do journalism? At least I say, go ahead, it's your dream. So then he said, I'll support you. And my father, okay, go ahead. I started doing journalism. So through that, I was partly in the element of art. So I started doing drama as well. And when I got a space to do drama in University of Cape Town after some connections here and there. So
How did you?
that was
How did you? Well, first of all, yes, you studied journalism first, do you still use a little journalism into your current work? And
Yeah.
how was that shift from Malawi to then getting that applied theater performance diploma in Johannesburg? How was that change?
It was a great moment because I was excited to do drama,
Yep.
which was my part of my passion. In part of journalism, there was part of an element of artistic element because some of the work I was doing some basically documentaries. I was doing which is things related to my work I wrote as a script writer. So when I shifted to do a pride theater in the district of Cape Town, it was wow. Because one, I know I'll learn things from other people in South Africa, and we believe in Africa that theater has a stronghold in South Africa. So I was like, wow, I'm going to the greatest place to do theater. So it is a wow thing. Right now I do part of some journalistic work here and there, some part times here and there, but yeah, it was a great movement for it.
So what was your first exposure to any country other than Malawi? Was it going to Johannesburg the first time you left Malawi, or did you leave Malawi before that?
My first exposure was Zambia. It's a neighboring country. So I traveled there just to watch a theater performance with a certain theater group. He just invited me, can you come over? Okay. I joined them to watch a festival in Zambia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So throughout your career, since you graduated from since you finished your applied theater performance degree, you've been doing a lot of work. You worked for national schools, for the Youth and Arts Festival, the Solomonic Peacocks Theater. You've done theater residencies and other things. And currently, you're the managing director for the YDC Theatre. What is the YDC Theatre? Can you tell me about that?
YDC Theatre is Youth Developers Collaboration Theatre, and it started like a movement whereby I saw a gap between the youth and established theatre members. See, we in Malawi, we are sticking to the formal theatre whereby people understand this is the way to do in theatre. So I say art is dynamic. We can do other things another way. So I've been practicing much of my theatre by directing school productions. So from there, I spotted some talent from there. Okay, these are talent we need to put up like me to move on. So I decided to come up with a movement which we call it Youth Directors Council. It was YDC then, Youth Directors Council, whereby we could recruit some young directors in secondary school to come together and sharing some ideas and work together. So from there, those ex-secondary school students come, okay, what if we come up with a theater, not just a director council, like a movement, a theater which can sustain us and move forward? I said, that's okay. You can join other theaters. I said, no, we need us to bring something to the society. We need to bring new things to the society. Then, okay, I said, okay, let's come up with a theater. Because of the YDC itself was popular in the community for a year. Okay, let's just maintain the YDC thing, but it should be youth developers collaboration, whereby we can develop other creative artists out there using theater. We started the theater organization, and right now it's the most prominent theater in Malawi.
So you're one of the founders of the YDC. I didn't know that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm founder.
I want to talk about a work that you did in 2018. I think, I mean, you have so many different plays that you've won awards for throughout your career that I saw in your portfolio. But I spent the most time with something that you did in 2018 called Wasted Adjectives. Who wrote Wasted Adjectives? Did you write?
Yeah, I wrote the play. Actually, it was a short story, so I just devised to do a stage play. And it's based on part of a true life event. In 2011, we had the first massive demonstrations in Malawi since we attained democracy. It was unbelievable. People didn't believe we were going to do such massive demonstrations. And I remember I just graduated from high school, and I wanted to visit my cousin in Uzuzu, the other city in the north. And he was a graduate from University of Malawi, but he was about to leave for South Africa to search for green pasture. But he was shot during the demonstration.
Yeah.
So I wrote the script for him. Basically,
Wow.
I lost the short story, which was published on newspaper. And then I decided, okay, can I devise it into a stage play? And I remember in 2018, YDC was first invited outside Malawi to perform a Drama for Life festival in Johannesburg. So I just submitted the storyline. They said, come up with a script, build a production, and bring it here. So I told my friends, guys, here's a short story. It's a storyline as well. Let's come up with a play. The guys said, okay, we can do experiment or you can write a script. So I okay, let me write a script. So I write the script, but most of the element I brought it while electing the production. So the following year, we toured across Malawi. We went into Zambia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and we won several awards.
That's really a really rewarding experience. Something that you wrote for your friend. It's a very it's a play that has a very important social impact, and to see that it's well accepted by you and by your country and the neighboring countries, it must be very rewarding. So, just for the people that are listening to the interview, the piece is called "Wasted Adjectives," and in this play, you're dealing with very complex topics like youth power, police brutality, and how castrating it can be, the death of people that are crossing the Mediterranean, going to Europe for a better life, child trafficking, human trafficking, education versus corruption, nepotism, prostitution. In 20 minutes you condense most of that. And when I was looking at the recording, you could listen to, the audience is a little dispersed in the beginning, but they keep getting more and more deeper into the play as it goes along, and you can hear them gasp at some of the topics that you raise and the way you address them. And I think there's a phrase towards the end of the play that's very strong, that says, "What is the difference between a prisoner and a Malawian?" That's a very deep phrase.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when you were saying that?
Sometimes I look at my country to see, are we really citizens of this country? The way the politicians run the country. We sometimes vote for someone, okay, this we're going to bear us from this misery. And after a year, he's like the past president. That phrase was something else. I once worked with some prisoners for some theater production.
Yeah.
I see how they express their stories, how they suffered inside, and the same element I could reflect with some people living in remote areas, in the rural areas. They cannot access those needs which the other people have access to them. So I could compare, okay, these guys are in prison, they're having this free education inside the prison, sometimes few meals, accommodation. So you can see a street kid is looking for meal, he doesn't have a place to sleep. So you can compare, okay, who is free, who is a prisoner here, right?
Yeah.
Most of the people in Malawi are being imprisoned inside their heart because they don't have their basic needs. So that line, in fact, is a fusion that sparked everything. I remember when we staged the production at BICC in Lilongwe, there was a youth festival, and there was a minister who was invited as a guest of honor. After that spark of lines, you cannot believe what happened. He walked out of the theater room and he walked off. I was like, I'm going to be arrested.
It's a very strong play.
I was invited outside. Yeah, I was invited by the director of art. He said, okay, who gave you the script? I say, I wrote the script. They did not believe that I wrote the script because I was just a kid, I say, I wrote the script. Okay, did you send it to censorship board? And yes, I sent it to censorship board, and they give me a full grant to perform the production. I said, okay, cool. The story ends there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that line was a powerful line. Like people say, it was like an anger inside me, no. I said no. I was just expressing what is in our society. Some
Exactly.
few people, some few people feel that we are free. We're able to buy food from there. We're able to work from there. But when you go
But I
deep down,
couldn't help but think about what we're going in the world right now and what's happening in America that's resonating everywhere else. It's a
yeah,
rightful anger. You have all the right to be angry if you've
yeah,
been subject to poverty for so long, neglected by the government for so long. Your opportunities are cut. You know, people say, "Oh, you need to get an education," and then you get an education and you spend 4 years trying to get a job because there's nepotism and only people in high places get the jobs. And I think there's a rightful anger sometimes. And when I was watching your play, I could not help but see the parallel in what's happening in a large scale in America today. Um, and and yeah, the play in the end it's incites people. It gives people power. That's why the play is controversial, because it's waking up people and telling them you have all the right to to stand up against this if you want something better. So it's a very powerful message. um, and you mentioned something about the work that you were doing in prisons. Your work is, I think I call it social theater, because you're dealing with very important topics uh, for your society, right? So tell me about the work that you did in prisons. Can you hear me? Yeah. Tell me about the job that you did in prisons with the.
okay. Can you
Yeah.
can you say it again?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I was
And
saying
wait,
that there's a lot of social impact that you do with your work. You were mentioning about the work that you did in prisons. Can you tell me about that experience working in prisons?
uh, uh, it was great. I think what happened is we have some intern from university in UK, one
Yeah.
from Germany, the other one from Switzerland, or university in UK. They came for just to chill around with art in Malawi. So they say, can we come up with a project we can work out? So we sit down. Okay, what can we come up with something?
Yeah.
Then the other day I was walking around the Chichiri prison, which is the biggest prison in Malawi, and then I saw the guys were playing some cultural dances and stuff. Oh, so these guys inside can do this. So I went to meet the commissioner. We discussed some few things. Said, can we come up with a project we can do with these guys? Said, okay, so you can come over once a week. You can have a program once a week. So we started using it. So we call it theater for mindset change, whereby we use theater as a therapy for social behavior change to those inmates. So we train about 30 inmates in theater making. And gladly, I'm very happy because the 15 of them, they're out. And those 15, they stage the production by themselves. And they have a theater. And it's wow, okay, great. Um, while we were doing our practice with the prisoners, we could hear stories,
Mhm.
stories, touching stories, and some even say, okay, are you really here because of this story? Okay, yes, okay. So we worked on dance theater, basically on contemporary dance. We also work on music. We work on theater. At the end of the program, we have this production. We call it Kukala Kundende, Living in Prison. So we staged it at the public performances in Blantyre, people to watch it. Yeah, it was 1 hour long production. It was musical, dance, and some poetry devices and stuff. So the production, they did it performed by themselves. We featured with the other guys from outside, the guys from Solomoni. We featured them in. Okay, guys, let's work together and bring something else. So it was a performance which I was like, okay, it's nice because I can't say who directed the play because we just can bring this idea. Someone else can bring this idea. We just mix up some things and come up with one production. But I was managing the whole stuff. We got support from the Blantyre city, even the prison itself, and some stakeholders around.
It's pretty
After that,
much using theater as therapy for, social change in the prison inmates, right?
yeah, yeah,
Which is it's a really powerful statement of the way you use your work. I know that you've also used your work to teach the population to get tested for HIV. I think the COVID-19 is not the first pandemic that hits Malawi, and HIV has been one of the, it's a pandemic that has hit harshly the population of Malawi. So in 2017, you were working with Theatre for Development, and you were teaching the population in Malawi the importance of getting tested for HIV. Is that correct?
Yeah. The project was part of the micro testing. Get tested, know your status. They approached us to come up with some theatre for development to teach the society how to know their status as the community, because Malawi is one of the countries which is most hit by HIV/AIDS. And as I'm saying now, most of the youth around Malawi they're being impacted into moral decay. So this is one element we try to use the theater to treat them, because as maybe you can recall, you can research theater in Malawi was basically for theater for development. We also have a course in University of Malawi, Chancellor College. Most of the graduates here there, they use theater for just for theater for development, not for social performances and stuff. So I joined the theater for development with the guys from Solomonics, whereby we use theater for development to teach people in the community. So we were just hired to do theater for development. But during the process, we say, no, not only theater for development, let's have a forum. Let's hear the community. Let's see what's in there. What is the barrier for them to go test it? So we started that movement for forum in a certain community, whereby we could have a friendly service discussion between the community and people who lived deeply inside, who doesn't follow things outside. So we teach them how to be strong, to be confident, to go taste it. It was trigger. It was the first thing for me to do theater for development, but I could use my head and my flames to devise some things out, come out to be with the people. And on top of that, we also conducted some small research about social services in like sexual and reproductive health rights, which we don't have those things here. Basically, in communities, if you want to get those friendly services, you need to travel a long distance to maybe a nearby trading center, nearby township or city to get those friendly services.
Yeah, and
So
it's like
we
eight
just
dollars
give
for
them
the
some.
it's like $8 for the bus ticket, and then just making $1 may take some of these people weeks, right? Well, that's. I was very impressed to see your work with that too. Were you traveling all over Malawi to present this work?
Yeah, it's a small country. It's a small country to travel
Of
about.
18 million people.
Like what we do, we do approach some several stakeholders who are doing some yeah, we approach some stakeholders who are doing basically a project in the community. We say, okay, can we partner up to do basically to teach people using theater? They say, okay, you can join us. Okay, so the team is being divided. You can go this side, you can go this side. So we facilitate in all those elements. At the end of the day, we have much fusion to help the community into several elements, basically in health sector. And say you said about something about food scarcity and stuff, and in that sector we haven't done much because of support from the government as well, support from other stakeholders, and it's an basically that area is being funded to organizations who are basically doing those things, not in the art sector to disseminate information. I don't know why. We approach several stakeholders to do those elements in several elements, but no response at all. But we are trying hard to go into food security elements.
And it's certainly a topic that has a strong taboo, especially in, I guess, in the Malawian society as well. Like to talk about AIDS, there's like a veil of shame that goes with it, and there's families that have been in such pain because they lose a loved one due to the disease, and the fact that you guys were standing in front of millions. I mean, in front of big audiences. From what I see on the photos, you had some pretty big crowds. It's a very brave statement, and it's creating a very important change in your society. So hats off for that. I want to hear also about Forum Theater. What is the Forum Theater, and what's the work that you're doing with refugees at the Forum Theater? What's that all about?
We decided to use Forum Theatre to work with the refugees in 2018. Yeah, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. We were first invited at the festival at the refugee camp. Sorry, it's a big refugee camp. Of course, we have some people from Burundi, Rwanda, DRC. They all flocked to Malawi because they say it's a peaceful country, so they feel comfortable in their country. And we were first invited for the Tumaini Festival, which means Tumaini means hope. So we were invited to do a theater performance. So we went there with a performance which it wasn't connected to the audience in that community, in that refugee camp, because we have so many tribes, people who can not able to speak English or to speak our language, and on top of that, how they're related. So the other year they invited us, but before we went for the festival, we requested to go there to interact with the community, to know the needs of the community, to know some of the basics of the culture of the community. So we use Forum Theatre in that context, not basically to change the mindset of the people, but to know their society. So we interacted with the dancers from DRC, we interacted with the poets, we interacted with the actors from different countries who are in the refugee camp. So from there, we picked some.
When you talk about refugees, these are refugees from where?
The refugees from Burundi, Rwanda, DRC, and some part of Ethiopia. So we have so many people, guys, coming from those countries because of war. So many refugees from that side come from Malawi because they felt it's a peaceful country to them. They felt it's a peaceful country. So we use Forum Theatre to interact with those guys and basically the artists. So because the artists themselves, they're free to express their story to us than people who are not artists. So from there we could drop some stories from there and come up with a production, basically experimental production. We went there and performers went to the festival and do some workshop and work with some artists as well. So it was funny and most exciting moment with the guys. And it's a good festival.
It's healing for most of these people that have the trauma of war. Like it's genocide that they're walking away from in some instances, right? So the level of trauma that they have is very severe, and to have theater as a medium to heal it, to speak about these things, to talk about these very difficult topics, I think it's a very powerful thing that what you're doing with your art. And before we go into other topics, I also wanted to ask you about a project called The Needs of the Woman. What is this one about? Did you write it? I know that the actress won an award for a prestigious award for Best Actress. What's the play all
about? The Needs of a Woman, basically it's not my story. It's a true story, I can say. A director from Fumban Theatre just came on. Can you write something? I said, okay, what? I have the story. It's a true story from someone else. So he requested me to come up with a production for the story. So he told me the whole story about the needs of a woman. Before I come up with the title, it was complicated. He told me the story of a woman who was a child, a woman needs a child from a great politician. Okay, come on, tell me the whole story. It's an exciting story because when I was writing, I was like, this is really happening to this society. Okay, cool. And the other challenge was when I was writing is like the type of story. Basically, it wasn't for Malawian community. It felt like a foreign story. Or even when we were studying it, people didn't believe it. It's like, this story is not from Malawi. It's not a Malawian story. Because one, the issue which were basic in that production was like, wow, who can do this in Malawi? Yeah, the stories. A woman wants a child from a politician who happens to be the husband, but the husband is important. So the husband forced him to go for education abroad for 4 years. And then after 4 years, he still forced him to do his master's there for 6 years to hide his impotence. So the woman returns back, still wants to get pregnant, you know. So the woman decided to go around to pick someone to impregnate him. So the guy he chooses used to be a schoolmate in abroad. It was something like that. So while in abroad, there was something secretly what happened. The woman raped a man, a story which a Malawian society cannot accept up to that a woman can rape a man. So this woman raped a man, and the man failed to express to the society that this woman raped me. So it was a question of, can I tell the society, or can I tell my wife, or can I tell my friend? So he decided to tell his friend. His friend didn't believe it. He said, "Oh no, a woman cannot rape you." I think maybe he needs money from him because he's a rich woman. He's a woman from a political background. You need money from them. So it's a story whereby we express a thing which cannot happen in our society, but it can happen.
It's a controversial topic, and but it also, however controversial, and it also places the woman in a position of power where traditionally men are, right? So to just see the shift between characters is interesting for an audience, especially. I understand that in Malawi, the difference between the role of man and woman, it's strong, right? What a woman should do, what a man should do, let alone talking about, you know, LGBTQ people. They have another set of issues when it comes to living in the Malawian society, right? So I think it invites people to think and expand their vision on issues that they see and live every day. What I like also about your work is that you're working with, you know, little resources when it comes to building or a stage, but you use the little resources in a very clever way, whether it's, you know, simple props like using doors or wire or whatever you find available, but also using the actors as props themselves, in very clever, simple ways that do invite the audience to have an experience beyond their reality, right? It does. You're able to transport the audience to an imaginary place with those little resources, and I think that's remarkable.
Thank you.
So again, congratulations on the job that you do. I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
Just before you went into a lockdown like the rest of the world, I think you were planning to go to Germany. I know that in 2018 you were in Germany with a project called Trek. And what were you going to do this time in Germany?
We were going to do a theater residence in Hanover. So apart from we have a partnership with the city of Hanover and Blantyre. So we have the partners invited us to spend a month in the city of Hanover to do a production with the guys in Germany, whereby we can do some shows in Hanover for about a month. So yeah, I don't know after the post-crisis if we are going to go there this year or next year.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So we are planning to come up with the production which involve about the interaction between Europeans and Africans, how they interact when they first meet.
Yeah.
What's the impression? Oh, are you from Africa? Yes, I'm from Africa. Are you from Europe? Yeah, I'm from Europe. What do you do? Those things. So we are trying to do those things to come up with some typical story from the experiment of the experience to be in Europe. So I decided to take a team which first experience to go in Europe. Not the guys who went there first time. Okay, let me take these guys for the first experience. It would be the first experience to interact with those guys as well.
And what would you say is the main difference when you are doing a play in front of a European audience?
The main difference is in a European audience you have more reflection of acceptance of the story, while here, for them to deeply understand the context, what you're doing on stage, they need to criticize you on the first impression. So that's the difference. For the European audience, we say, let's watch this. This is fun, even before the lights is on. So that's the difference between the European audience and the Africa, I guess, say Malawian audience. And the other thing is to bring Malawian audience to watch a commercial performance is very hard. It's very hard because most of them, they feel theater is useless to them.
Yeah.
It's useless. Most of the audience who watch our production, most of them, they are artists, fellow artists themselves from different genres. And the rest of the audience are guys from outside Malawi who love theater. They just come to watch theater. And I remember this year we staged a production, Operation Mandala, which is a story about John Chirembwe, right? So he's one of our heroes who fight for freedom in Malawi. So we come up with the production just because we want to rope in more guys from it, like the place, the historians, children who want to know more about John Chirembwe, the guys from outside. So it was very exciting to come up with that production. Yeah. So from there, I could see how Malawian audience reacted to our production, and those guys from Europe. The European audience, they have the culture for theater, culture to watch theater performances. While in Malawi, it's something else.
What I find remarkable, though, and what really drew me to your work is the fact that, yes, if you go to Europe or if you go to, I don't know, New York, you have all these resources to do theater. And yeah, it's visually engaging. And the performances are, you know, so interesting and jaw-dropping. But that's what they're doing with all the resources. But the level of impact of your work when you're reaching out to your community, a community in need to know about HIV, a community that needs to heal with the refugees, right? The trauma of the refugees, where you're working with high schools and students, showing them to embrace different realities. The impact that your work is doing is not useless at all. It's not useless at all, and it's really impressive. So I want to talk a little bit about the, oh, you were going to say something?
Just 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. I just want to plug something. 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sorry for that.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
Can you move the wire? Oh, there you go. Got it. Don't worry about it. So I want to talk about the work that you propose to do with co-residency. You have a project that is called Digital Expression Cognizance, the DEC. One of the things that you mentioned is that, you know, theater is a physical space, and because of the situation we're living right now, it's shifting or almost being forced to come into a virtual stage. And you're interested in how we're gonna accept that change, right? One of the things that you mentioned is that you're interested in creating awareness about the COVID-19 crisis, etc. So can you tell us a little bit about this work that you want to do?
As an expression, to accept digital element is very hard for those guys who are deeply into theater, because I remember when I was directing a certain school, I shot a film. I filmed the whole stage production, and I took the video and and show it to a certain school as well. Can you watch the theater performance? I could feel those guys who were watching us. The excitement wasn't that good. It's like, no, you can't watch a theater performance on screen. You need to watch a theater performance on lively, seeing them on stage. So it was like a different thing for them to understand what is theater and what is filming. So in Malawi, things are moving there in a slow pace. Film industry is taking over as well. And like I say, the digital world is coming so powerful and very fast. When I come up with that concept, I thought maybe this crisis, people will be indoors, people will be quiet, people miss theater, but we can use another way of presenting theater to our fellow audience. Um, for example, since our last performance was on 23rd March this year, up to date, people are asking, what will be the next performance? What will be your next play? Which simply means people need to watch our performances, but they cannot have that access, or the performances are down. So I visualize during this pandemic, how can we entertain our audience? How can we give out the message to our audience? So that context, I would say, okay, we're going to tell the story within the classes, the story within them, the story within the artist, within us, okay? Guys, you need to watch our performance, you need to watch what we are going through, because most of the times we tell the story of other side. So this time around, we need a story from inner story of the artists themselves. That's why from the project, I stated like the monologue piece, whereby an actor can reflect his or her environment and come out with a monologue and give out to the audience and compile all those things together. From there, I could see, okay, people can see the real artist, their story from them. But at the same time, we are giving them another channel whereby we can jump from live performance into digital performance. Yeah, so I wanted to give them another platform of performance, but at the same time, using the same inspiration of live performances to them. That's why the expression would have been very powerful using the digital way and at the same time live performance. So with what I'm doing now, the war is the expression, as I set it up, like the storyline is almost down. I think telling the people using digital element, not live performance, would be very powerful. And I could see the same element of coming out of the production, maybe like stage performances. Maybe to share out to the fellow artists to see, okay, how can we come up with a digital performance for the society to understand it? Because whether we like it or not, things are changing. The theater culture is going down. What is remaining is people are focusing on social media, are focusing on their phones, are focusing on to watch live cinema. Maybe that culture in Malawi, we don't have that culture for live cinema stuff. But we need to push them to accept that. Maybe by the time we're going to devise, let's jump into digital theater, there must not be supplies though. Yeah, this is how we are.
Maybe someday you'll end up doing a film. We don't know. And the way you're using theater and your art and your creativity to use your work to push things forward is really impressive. So I can wait to see the final outcome of the digital expression of cognizance at DEC. Fumban, what do you think is the biggest misconception about Malawi in the rest of the world? What's the biggest misconception?
Malawi is a peaceful country.
That is a what?
Malawi is a peaceful country.
Is it peaceful? Oh, we know, but what is a misconception? Is that the misconception? What is it that the rest of the world thinks about Malawi?
Yeah,
it's not a peaceful country?
That's a misconception. It's not a peaceful country.
Pardon? It's not a peaceful country.
Yeah, it's not a peaceful country because, you know.
Well, yeah, I confirm that I have that misconception.
Yeah, you see, because to define peace needs to have everything, the basic needs, to be free, to express yourself, and at the same time, be able to express what is within in the society without a blockade. But now we're saying Malawi is a peaceful country just because we don't have guns in our head, just because we don't have massive demonstrations everywhere. So we are living in a peaceful country. No. And those people who are promoting that sentiment of peaceful country are those guys living in urban areas because they don't know what people are living in the rural community areas. So to them, it's not peaceful because they struggle to walk a mile to get maybe their basic needs. That's not peaceful because it's like a hindering sentiment for them to do a small thing at that point, but they force themselves to do other things in order to get their basic needs. That's not peaceful. So to me, that's one
Not
thing.
peaceful country.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you for clarifying that to me. And then we go back to your phrase, what is the difference between a prisoner and a Malawian? I thought it was such a strong phrase to use. Fumban, I'd like to finish with the quick fire questions. As I always mention, this is our take on James Lipton's questionnaire that was based on Bernard Pivot's, that was ultimately part of the Proust questionnaire, right? So it's our little twist on that. So I'm just going to ask you some questions, and you can just tell me what the first thing that comes to your mind. Is that okay? Okay, let's do it. Who's your favorite director or writer?
Tyler Perry.
Who is your favorite hero or heroine?
Mila Djokovic and Harrison Ford.
What is your favorite word? And what is your least favorite word?
My favorite word is expression. My least favorite word is list.
Yeah. What turns you on and what turns you off?
Humor. Humor turns me on, and the opposite of humor turns me off.
What sound or noise do you love, and what sound or noise do you hate?
Any acoustic sound I like.
What is that?
Any acoustic sound, like a guitar sound. Yeah. I dislike mostly the industrial cracking sound. Is very noisy and it's polluting the environment.
What's your favorite place in the world, Fumban?
Giza City, the Pyramid City in Egypt.
What inspires you to continue doing your work?
The outcome of my work inspired me to do my work.
What's your idea of happiness and what's your idea of misery?
The idea of happiness is being self-fulfillment. Self-fulfillment is my idea of happiness. My idea of being misery is running out of ideas, running out of creative ideas. So yeah.
What does this global crisis mean to you?
We are stagnant, a threat to humanity.
Can you complete these sentences for me? Art is
The communication of expression of ideas. To me, art is the communication expression of ideas.
Art allows me to.
It allows me to explore imaginative environment, to see beautiful things, to reflect the society from another world.
Without art?
Nothing, no development at all.
Fumbani Innot Phiri, you are an incredible ambassador of Malawi. The work that you're doing is remarkable. The healing that you're and the education that you're giving to your own society, it's evident. And from our behalf here at Co-Residency, we encourage you to keep pushing your country forward. Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure we'll be hearing from you a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome.